And Palawan is represented by Mr. Cesar Sami Magbanwa. He is the Chief of Staff of Palawan Governor Jose C.H. Alvarez and the concurrent program manager of the Culture and Arts Program of the Provincial Government of Palawan. He is a strong advocate for the preservation of Palawan's culture and arts. With Palawan's local festivals, he leads in the conceptualization, promotion, and he ensures that Palaweno artists and performers were exposed in the limelight. He is also instrumental in organizing the Evening with the Classics series, bringing to Palawan the excellent performances of the Philippine world-renowned madrigal singers, Philippine Philharmonic Orchestra, tenor Erwin Lumawag, and classical guitarist Franco Maigi. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow citizens of BIMP-EAGA, let us welcome Mr. Cesar Sami A. Magbanwa.
Good evening. It's already 6 o'clock here in Palawan, almost 6. So I'd like to bid everyone good evening. And thank you, Fe, for that kind introduction. First of all, I'd like to thank NCCA, Ma'am Adele Sumith, for the kind invitation. It's an honor for Palawan to have been made part of this Kumpulan webinar. I'd like to begin our presentation. We prepared a short slide presentation about the culture and art scene in the province of Palawan and how we are coping with the COVID pandemic that has engulfed the entire world. First of all, I'd like to introduce Palawan to our audience. For those of you who have not been to Palawan and who do not know much about the province of Palawan, well, it has been hailed as one of the world's best island by the readers of two influential international travel magazines such as Condé Nast Traveler and Travel and Leisure magazine for several consecutive years. It is also home to two UNESCO World Heritage Sites, which are the Tubataha Reef Natural Park and the Puerto Princesa Underground River, which is also one of the new 7 wonders of nature. It has been declared a man and biosphere reserve also by UNESCO and the last ecological frontier. It's also famous for its rich and unique culture and heritage. It has been known as the cradle of ancient Philippine civilization with the discovery of the Tabon Man in the Tabon Cave Complex in the town of Quezon by anthropologist Dr. Robert Fox in the 60s. Recently, in the Divil Valley in Ibahay El Nido, was discovered the remains of the tiger bones, Panthera tigris, which dates back 10,000 years ago. And that site is also known as one of the oldest burial cremations in Southeast Asia. In terms of land area, Palawan is the largest province in the Philippines, composed of 23 municipalities, one highly urbanized city, and 367 barangays or villages. We have a population of over 1 billion souls. It is also home to a number of indigenous cultural and ethno-linguistic groups, among which are the Batak, Tagbanwa, Palawan, Cuyunon, Cagayanan, Agutaynan, and Kalamyanan. Each of these Indo-linguistic groups and indigenous peoples group have their own distinct culture and traditions depicted in their songs, dances, rituals, calligraphy, traditions, artifacts, and their way of life. Aside from the traditional, we're also proud of our prolific and world-class Palawenyo talents, such as our musical composers, singers, dancers, visual artists, whose artistic output not only enrich Palawan's culture but also reflect the identity of Palawenos. Palawan has a vibrant culture and art scene with a number of museums, such as those that you can see on the slide. Next. We have 3 active and dynamic visual artist group, and these are the Palawan Artist Collective, composed of our more senior artists, Art on the Move, and Guhit Pinas Palawan. and they exhibit their artworks in a number of art galleries, which are mostly privately owned here in the city. We also have a number of performing groups. We have the Palawan State University-based Sining Palawan Dance Troupe and other dance companies mentioned in the slide. For choral, we also have a number of choral groups that are world-class and have, in fact, toured some countries in Europe and have won some awards also in those competitions there. Under the leadership of Governor Jose Alvarez, the provincial government is given utmost importance to the preservation, promotion, and enhancement of Palawanyo culture and arts through its Palawan Culture and Arts Program under the office of the governor. The Palawan Culture and Arts Program manages the Palawan Dance Ensemble, Provincial Capital Chorale, the Provincial Acoustic Band, and the Capital Band. We're also one of the few local government units in the Philippines that has a fully operational Palawan Heritage Center, which is called Palawan Heritage Center. And of course, we're also fortunate to have an active and dynamic multi-sectoral Palawan Culture and Arts Council, which is composed of representatives from government, academe, private sector, media, cultural performers and advocates, and artists. Some of the shows that have been performed by our Palawan Dance Ensemble are, of course, encapsulated in Kaambangan, which is an hour and a half long cultural presentation of Palawan songs and dances. And they have performed these before national and international dignitaries here and also abroad. Among these performances were those in Hainan province in China, the Budayaw Festival in Jensan, the first one, then the Mimaropa Festival in Romblon and Puerto Princesa and also in Mindoro, the BIMP-EAGA 25th anniversary in Davao City before His Excellency President Rodrigo Duterte, the 6th ASEAN Chief Justices Roundtable discussion on environment, and so on and so forth. Then we're also fortunate to have some strong linkages with various cultural institutions in the Philippines, such as the Cultural Center, which has designated Palawan as one of its kaisa sa Sining Regional Arts Center. Under the CCP's outreach program, Palawan and Palaweños were able to witness world-class performances by the world-renowned and multi-awarded Philippine magical singers, the Philippine Philharmonic Orchestra, and of course, the tanghalang Huseng Batutes, ang pagbabalik tanaw sa unang hari ng Balagtasan, which celebrates the life and works of Filipino poet and composer Jose Corazon de Jesus. We also hosted the launching of the seminal CCP Encyclopedia of Philippine Art. From the NCCA, of the National Commission on Culture and Arts, Palawan is grateful to have been a recipient of a grant for the project Puok Linangan Art in Public Spaces. And recently, just during the first part of 2020, we're given a grant also to host the Luzon leg of Ani ng Sining, the 2020 National Arts Month celebration. And in solidarity with the rest of the country, we also celebrate the National Arts Month every month of February. And since 2018 and 2019, we've had the Batingaw, Tanghalang Himig at Sayaw contest and program. Then, as I mentioned a while ago, we had the Sikot Tugyaw Festival of dances, workshops, performances, art exhibitions, and installation art, and among other many activities. I also mentioned about the Evening with the Classics. It is in partnership with the Filipina Shell Foundation Incorporated, and it's now on its 11th edition, and we brought to Palawan some world-class performances of our famous pianists, tenor, chamber orchestras, violinists, cellists, and classical guitarists. Palawan is also part of the PRESEA project, or Managing Prehistoric Heritage in Southeast Asia, and Palawan was invited to present a paper in Jakarta, Indonesia during the concluding seminar of PRESEA project on the establishment, management, and operation of the Palawan Heritage Center. The Palawan Heritage Center also hosted the Legacy of the Islands, an exhibit on prehistory and heritage in Southeast Asia under the PISEA project. We're also honored to have been chosen as the venue for the book launch of Nicole Revel's Palawan Highlanders of Verbal Arts, a living memory in Southeast Asia. The Palawan Heritage Center continues to conduct researches and studies and documents culture and traditions of Palawan's indigenous peoples and ethno-cultural groups. And one of these days, we hope to publish a book on the researches. The impact of the pandemic on Palawan culture and arts scene. Well, like all other sectors, the arts and cultural sector in Palawan was also badly affected by the pandemic. All culture-related activities such as performances were either postponed or canceled altogether. For Palawan, that meant the cancellation of the much-awaited performance of the Bayanihan Philippine Dance Company, and of course the Evening with the Classics concert series. Museums, art galleries, cinemas, heritage sites, and other cultural venues were temporarily closed. The annual Baragatan Festival, which celebrates the founding of Palawan civil government, and a host of other local festivals were cancelled. Many Palawenyo artists and cultural workers such as dancers, painters, sculptors, theater actors, musicians, and singers, numbering about 1,000, were displaced and had to find other sources of income. The closure of resorts and restaurants and hotels also resulted in the loss of jobs of hundreds of our local performers and artists. Funds allocated for culture and arts were realigned for COVID-related measures. Culture and arts became the least priority in government allocation and even in the consciousness of the people as survival became the primordial concern. The invention, retooling, acquisition of new skills became the norm for all cultural workers for survival. For the past, our response to the COVID challenge was we're fortunate that for the past 6 months, the province of Palawan has been under the category or classification of modified general community quarantine. This means that we were classified as a low-risk area for COVID-19 transmission. So we gradually open up some of our activities and some of our sites for culture and tourism. And the provincial government is working closely with the Department of Labor and Employment through its TUPAD program and also the NCCA's assistance program for cultural workers in the hope of extending financial assistance to all displaced local artists and performing groups in the province of Palawan. With the gradual opening of our tourism and cultural heritage sites, we have had a number of community bazaars wherein our local artists and craftsmen were able to already start selling their artworks and their output. The Philippines is known to have one of the longest Christmas celebration and Palawan is no exception. So we have the Paskuhan sa Kapitolyo 2020. We have mounted our Belen and we have lit up the premises of the provincial capital so people can come and visit and enjoy with their families. Then we're going to start our Dawn Masses, our Simbang Gabi sa Kapitolyo this coming December 16th to the 24th. Virtually, the Palawan Performing Arts under the Palawan Dance Ensemble has been invited also to perform. And one of these is the one of Mr. Sidney Loyola's Filipino-American Development Foundation. Of course, we're also grateful that we were given a chance to be a part of the Dance Exchange NCCA, and our episode 13, wherein our capital, the Palawan Dance Ensemble performed, was already aired last December 6. For our cultural development plans, we hope to complete the directory of all cultural workers and local artists across municipalities in Palawan. We hope to finish the province-wide cultural mapping and inventory to identify all the cultural assets and properties of the province and resume the cultural tours of the Palawan Performing Arts Group here and abroad. Also resume the renovation of the Palawan Heritage Center and the acquisition of more artworks, more artifacts for exhibit. We also hope to strengthen the Palawan Culture and Arts Council, continue with the implementation of the Palawan Provincial Government's Master Plan on Culture, Arts, and Cultural Heritage, and ensure that it is in consonance with the Philippine Development Plan for Culture and Arts. Conduct province-wide consultation with all cultural stakeholders to ascertain the impact of the pandemic and address the gaps. Provide technical assistance and support to all municipal culture and arts council to help them cope with the aftermath of the pandemic. We also hope to invest in digital infrastructures and explore the potential of online platforms in offering alternative but creative virtual performances. Provide avenues to support cultural and creative entrepreneurship to help them rebound after the crisis. Then finally, of course, we hope to strengthen our linkages with existing partners such as the CCP and the NCCA and the BIMP-EAGA Budayaw for the realization of the development programs for Palawan culture and arts. That concludes my presentation. Thank you very much once again, and we look forward to your questions after all the presentations have been.